Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from my channel Hybrid Model Railway, and today, definitely not, excuse me, a couple of days later, we are back to finally sort out this wagon conversion for the pickup tender for this little Great Western 040. Just a little bit of a recap last time, and I have separated the body and the top of the wagon just with that little screw there, so we can get to it a little bit better. Last time I weathered and glued up this top of the wagon with real coal in here and some coal dust which is there. And as you can see, it doesn't look too bad. We put some coal dust around the side to represent overspillage. That looks really good if you ask me. Then of course we added the coal load on top, which after I applied the first glue in that video, I put a second coat of glue on top. And yeah, no coal is falling off that whatsoever. So hopefully today my bench should not get any more dirty than it is. And I said to you in the next video we would be fitting the pickups. However, I do have to admit, I did start filming that video and things did not exactly go to plan. Basically, if I can find, are they still up here? No, I've already thrown them. Basically, the pickups I shaped for the last video, well, the pickups I said I was going to make in the last video were use the original pickups that went underneath and touched the axles. I said I was going to reuse them, but then I thought, well, no, I'm not actually going to do that because, you know, because they've got quite sharp edges, you know, they can squeak on the back of the wheels and they're really thick and horrible, and I'm going to need a load of glue. So what I actually ended up using, I'm just checking I haven't got any up here. No, I haven't. I actually ended up using I think it's 1.5mm, or it might be 1mm earth wire from when we rewired the loft. We moved the switch and ran a new length of cable. So this is just solid core earth wire from, you know, generic socket wire, whatever size the earth wire is. I can't remember if it's 1mm squared or 1.5mm squared, and I used that. And I bent it in exactly the same shape as this, hoping for the, you know, the round edge to touch the back of the wheel and not make as much noise. However, that didn't really work. I stuck them down, filmed the video for that, and, you know, they were making no continuity whatsoever. They were still making quite a bit of noise, and of course the wheels, having all that copper touching, you know, were just not free to roll as they are now, as you can hopefully see and here. So I scrapped that. I started making the video again and I thought, right, I'll do it properly. I'll try and bend them into this shape like that. And yes, that video did progress, but you know what I thought? To save all the boredom of me just bending bits of copper wire into shape for half an hour and gluing them on, you know, I'll not bother, and I'll just do it, and then I can show you the results after. So I bent them into that shape you can see there, a flat bit, and then a sort of inverted U shape, or rather an N shape over there, to not only touch the backs of the wheels, but also hopefully make some contact with the metal part of the axle, as you can see there. So yeah, once the first planned axle section of the video, the pickup section of the video, didn't work, I thought, right, you know what, I'll stop filming, I'll do it, cut out all the boring bits, and you can just see me soldering this all together, and hopefully that should be a little bit more interesting. I have taken the liberty of dismantling it all completely, taking this out so it's not constantly rocking backwards and forwards. I've marked up the motor with positive and negative and what side it all fits in and all that good stuff. So motor goes in that way, positive on the right, or that side, negative on this side, as with the black and red on there. So we shall crack on. The soldering iron is warmed up. I do hope I am running out of solder. Good job, Christmas is coming round the corner. There we go. And I think I did say in the original video I'd glue the pickups down with super glue. Sorry, with polycement. I did use some polycement, but it wasn't, I'll admit, the strongest, which is probably why it says for plastic model kits only. It did bond it, but, you know, pressing I could feel a bit of wiggle, so I did just use some super glue, and I've just sprayed that out with some WD-40 just to try and get some of the residue down as well. And because there were so many failed attempts at gluing this up, what I actually ended up doing with, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but it actually ended up sanding that surface with a little bit of sandpaper just to try and remove all the glue residue, and that's made it nice and flat and stable for this new set of pickups to glue onto. So we'll crack on. I think, do we start? Yes, we'll start at this side first, and I said I would solder them before I glued these on, but I forgot, but it should be fine now. The super glue is well set. So I just need to remember which one of these I cut to go where. So if we get these roughly aligned, this one, go from the motor, which one's the shortest? Now they are both roughly the same length. I'll do the longest one, which is that one from the wagon. So if we just get this about right here, so that needs to go roughly there. Solder on there, pass through the gap into the back where the other one will join up here from the motor and plug in together. I can always shorten them if necessary. So that's the one we need. The ends already look tinned. In fact, yes, I did re-tin the ends. So when the wagon is that way, positive needs to be there. So flip these over together. Positive needs to be on the side closest towards me, which is unhelpful because there's a bit of wire stuck there from the previous glue and solder attempt, which is completely denoting the wrong side that needs to be positive. Probably because I flipped the wagon round. But anyway, let's... hopefully you're going to be able to see this. I'll zoom in a little bit. There we go. And I'm just going to feed this wire under there and solder that in place. Do I try and solder right-handed so you can see what I'm doing? Yeah, go on then. I don't want to keep the iron on there too long, or all the glue will melt and a lot of toxic fumes will be released in the loft, which is not exactly what we want. So it's not going to be the best solder joint for fear of melting all the glue. The smell of leaded solder. Oh, I've just realised you can see my breath in this loft, or rather I can, don't know if you can, because it is quite cold. Should be able to see what I'm doing now, just feeding it gently into here. And because the ends of the wire are tinned and the copper has been pre-soldered onto, I can literally just reflow them together. Let's just try and get that a bit better. Yeah, and that's now soldered on there. We haven't melted any of the glue. All the wheels are still lovely and free to spin. That is perfect. So, now what we need to do is what I'm actually going to do. I'm actually going to put the coupling on, because what I've done is I've just routed it round the pegs there, if you can see where the coupling is. Or where the coupling will be when I screw it on, so that it just sort of keeps it all neat and tidy and such. So I'm just going to screw this coupling back down, and while we're doing this one I might as well do the other one. I probably really didn't need to take both off, but you know, I did, so that's where we are. There we go. Yeah, that's plenty of movement there. Let's do the other one. It just sort of sits onto the two pegs that you can see there. Do I try and screw... No, that'd be stupid. I was going to say, do I try and screw left-handed, but then that'd mean really awkwardly holding it for the right. So, just for the moment, you won't be able to see what I'm doing, but it's not exactly a critical moment. That just wants pushing down and screwing on. Good. Right, so now, what I think we need to do is solder up the motor side, which involves the motor and trying not to melt any more of the plastic housing that holds all the brushes and stuff in place. So positive, as I marked up before this video, needs to go on the underside. Not going to try and solder there because I'll just melt that and knacker the brush. So I will just, what's my soldering iron set? So 350, that'll be fine. Just so I can be as quick as possible. So I'll just melt that onto here. I'm going to say, not going to be the prettiest job in the world because I am cautious of just preserving the plastic. So that one can go onto the top side, and I think there'll be plenty of length. Yes, there'll be plenty of length there. On the top side, the negative. Pre-tinned both ends, so we don't need to do any flowing and just melt them together. And then I think what I'm actually going to do is reassemble this little 040 now. And, well, just like that, we are almost done. Don't forget the clip to hold it in. So this needs to go in like so. Make sure that makes good contact with the worm by rocking it gently backwards and forwards. Yes, it does. Get the clip, hook it in one side, press the motor down. Make sure it goes on top of the little black piece of plastic that's part of the motor, above the worm drive and the shaft. I'll get you in closer when I've actually put this in, so you can see exactly what it looks like. It is a very fiddly job. There, should look like that. Hook in one side, across the top there to the other side there. Let me just see if I can get you in on that. Yeah, you can see there, across the top, round to that side there. Yep, and lock the focus and sort the exposure out again. There we go. Right, so hopefully I've done it so that that is the perfect length which it seems to be. I can always tuck that wire in there. That is perfect. That's fine. So now I'll plug these together, reassemble anything, and then it should be good. So we'll hook those two. In fact, I tell you what, I'll put the plug in and then couple it together. So it should just be a case of really just... In fact, if I turn this one upside down rather than that one, it'll be a lot easier. So if I just be able to push these two together. They're incredibly small, these, so it might take a few attempts. Oh, doesn't seem to be wanting to go in perfectly. That's annoying. No. I don't want to force it, but then some force is required. Is that connect? No, that's not connected. Right, what I'm just going to do is get a small screwdriver and try and bend those contacts into place, and I'll be back with you in just a tick. A considerable amount of time later, speaking through gritted teeth, I am not in the best of moods. Because the connectors that I've bought, they don't push together. The ones that I'd soldered on here and here don't push together. Spent about half an hour bending the contacts, trying all different manners of ways of getting them to fit just in case something was wrong at the factory. Nope, they wouldn't push together. The ones in the bag that are completely untouched, that are now the cables are a bit kinked because I've tried to push them together, they don't connect together either. And as luck would have it, the return date, the return date is now passed, so I can't send them back, can't get a refund, can't really do anything like that. So yeah, that's a little bit annoying. I could try, I suppose, but for something that costs £2.59, is it really worth the effort, I ask myself? Probably not. Now, it would maybe just be as simple as going to another manufacturer, another person on eBay, and ordering some connectors for £4, but then I'd have to order it, you know, spend another £4 on this loco, which, you know, it's only a cheap loco. I'm really not sure I want to be spending too much more money on it, to be honest. I can afford to, but whether I really want to or need to, no, this project is going on far too long now, and to be honest, I kind of just want it finished. So I've made the executive decision, because I'm the only person who can decide what happens with my railway and my channel. I've decided to just connect it with wire and heat shrink and just tidy up as it was before, because part of this project, yes, was to add connectors so that I could pull the wagon and the loco apart separately and work on each separately without it getting in the way. But it was also just to improve the quality and the free rollingness and the loudness of these pickups, which I have done. They are now a lot quieter and are a lot more free rolling, as you can see there. So yeah, so half of this project has been a fail, but half of it has been, you know, absolutely fine, because I have actually managed to get the pickups to work and run a lot better, a lot quieter, and a lot more reliably. So yeah, I am, not to lie to you, a bit annoyed that the haven't worked, the connectors. But, you know, at some point I've just got to cut my losses and say I've spent far too much time on this project, which I have. Got dents in all of the end of my fingers where I've been pushing that tiny thing together. And at some point I just need to say, right, stop now, just get something sorted and move on. Because, to be fair, I can just take the motor out with the wires and the wagon connected to it and move that off to one side, because all I need to do with the motor is grease that oil in there and oil there. So yeah, it's a little bit of a compromise, but as I say, I could completely rectify it, could completely sort it, but as I say, I ask myself, and you're probably likely to agree with me, it's really not worth for such a cheap loco and how much time I've spent on it already, you know, sorting out. I've added the coal load in the wagon, which is a lot improvement aesthetically. The pickups in the wagon now work a lot better. It's just going to be a slight hindrance every year or so when I come to service it, that, you know, the motor and this are going to be attached together. But not to worry. I've done what I can, and honestly, I have to make this into a video series. I've done part 1, so I can't just end at part 1 where I say, oh yes, I'm going to do this, and then I don't do it. And I think it's been long enough between episodes now, or between parts of the series, rather, episodes. I think it's been long enough now that this just sort of needs to get finished and moved on from, because I can't just keep indefinitely delaying this series until something works. So, yeah, right, I've just made the decision just to do it with heat shrink, which should look reasonably neat. Let's just crop this to roughly the same length. Yep, I'm loving these small snips, they're brilliant. Right, loco side, or rather motor side, and yes, I'm going to need this. That's not a very nicely soldered end. Let's just tidy that up. Positive, we'll solder to the bottom, because I don't want to try and solder to that horrible copper spring and I'm going to end up melting it or anything like that. So, already pre-tinned, so I can just literally just stick that in there. Roughly guess about how much wire I need there, and for the other side, let's just say there. Can always chop it down later. Wire strippers there, and so yeah, I'm just going to connect this with heat shrink and make it look reasonably decent, because yeah, sort of getting a bit old is this now, so we'll just crack on and get it sorted. Tin U. There we go. Strip this end before I rag it off the solder. No, actually, because we're going to have to cut that to length, aren't we? That one there, this one wants soldering on here like so. I wondered why everything was melting so quickly, because my soldering irons must have knocked the dial. It's on 350 degrees. I normally run at 300, but yeah, to preserve the elements. But oh well. Connecting rods have come out again. I have got the layout powered up, so I'm just going to quickly drop it on the layout just to make sure the copper contacts underneath are working all right. Yep, that was the motor working, so we have got a connection from the pickups to the motor, so that's good. Do I put the clip in now? Yes, why not? Work my fingers to the bone even more. If trying to sort them connectors out wasn't painful enough. Oh, that was actually quite painless. What a surprise. Right, and here was the last attempt, by the way, of the heat shrinking, which was a bit of a test, but went okay. But I thought, well, if I'm just not using the connectors at all, I might as well just use black wire. So we're just using black wire now. And just need to be careful where I put the heat shrink. So if I cut that to length there, because I can't really have heat shrink jammed in this groove here because the wires won't fit. Cut that to length there and call it there. Can I get the wire strippers in here, or do I take the motor out again, or do I just risk it with snips? And he says knocking everything all over the place. Right. Yeah, no, I think I might be able to fit these in here. Oh, that was a bit sketchy, but we did it. It saves me taking that horrible... You know what? Forget it. The coupling rods are coming off. I'm not faffing about trying to keep them in for now. Sit the end of this. The solder joint didn't pop out of the other end. That's a bonus. Solder. This is where I look at the camera and I've run out of storage space or something, and then I really will just be annoyed. Oh wow, we are actually still recording. What a miracle. Let's lop these two together. Roughly guess how much wire we need. I'm going to be, just say, slightly too long. So let's say, yeah, about there-ish for that one. This one can be about, that's just gone on the floor, about there-ish. Wire strippers. Nice are these, the Minotaur ones from, is it Tool Station or Screwfix? I can't quite remember, but they are excellent. You can get them really, really fine down there as well for stripping thin wire like what I'm doing here. Hey, if you even set it up perfectly, it'll even do SCART lead wire as well. I've just yanked that off. Not to worry, at least I haven't yanked all the copper contacts off. But yeah, you can get, if you set it up perfectly like I did when I was wiring the signals for the layout, you can get it to strip SCART lead wire as well, which is brilliant, because otherwise you'd just be stood scraping at it with these. I've just completely yanked that. I've just completely yanked that solder joint off the copper. Well, that's quite good actually, because I'll know that wasn't perfect, and I can remedy it now just by flowing that on there. Maybe the copper was a bit tarnished or something, and it didn't stick quite so well, so to speak. Yeah, we're stuck now. That's good. No more ragging on ends of wire. As I say, I didn't know exactly how long it needed to be. There we go. Right, so coming over to this side, let's couple it together so we know we've got enough room. Heat shrink, I'm just going to use a very small section, because otherwise it'll just gunk everything up and make everything an absolute pain to do. So let's say about that long and about that long. Save that piece for later. Slide them over before soldering, just how you remember to do that with a 3-phase plug before you wire it up, and then forget you've not put the back section on, and then you have to take all the wires out again, which is really annoying and time consuming. These are both tins, so I'll just try to stick them together. Come on. It's just getting them in the right position just to be able to solder them together that's a pain, but oh, that's perfect, is that? There we go, that's one. Let's just get this one on here. Come on now. Two. And if I'd have been really, really untrustworthy, I could have just been like, right, I'm not putting this video out because it hasn't worked. But, you know, it's good to show when things don't go to plan sometimes. And this is one of the projects that you'll see, and one of the projects that I've done that hasn't gone to plan. And that's fine. As annoying as it is, it would have been more annoying if I spent even more time and money on it and then it didn't work. So, yeah, as I say, £4 isn't expensive for some more connectors, but for all the reasons I've already mentioned, I just honestly can't be bothered wasting any more time or money on this little 040. It's not worth it. It was only about 15 quid. So, yeah, I've paid half of that in connectors if I'd have done this again, which just seems a little bit illogical, but... Right, let's jam them 2 wires in that slot. Make sure everything's roughly free to move. The weight's in the front. Loco body. Oh, coupling rods. It's the only thing about these 040s, the coupling rods go everywhere. And they stick out the front. If you've noticed an 040 when it's running, you get the little boop, 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 boop of the metal coupling rods shooting out the front of the cylinders. Which is not the most realistic, but hey-ho. Oh, the body's actually fit on. Is it straight? Yes. Is there any wires poking out? No. Right, good. Is this, relatively speaking, free to move? Yes. We'll just rearrange those wires to be in the middle. Yeah, I'd say that's reasonably free rolling. Plenty of movement there, isn't there? More than enough. Right, lovely. So, last thing to do is to put this on. Which goes that way. And I've just realised the couplings, do the couplings screw into there? Yes, they do. The couplings not only screw themselves in, but screw this base on as well. So, is the servicing sponge at hand? No, never mind. So the couplings actually partially hold that wagon body on as well. That's quite interesting. If I just back them out a few turns, I shouldn't have to take them right the way out. I should just be able to take them out a little bit and then slot that on and then put that tiny screw there in, which I'm amazed I haven't lost yet, to be quite frank with you. Have they dropped in? Almost. Oh, fine, I'll do it properly and back the screws all of the way out. I would get the servicing sponge out, but it's right the way under the desk in a drawer, and I can't be bothered to get it out, to be honest, because it's just not worth it for this tiny job. Can we seat the wagon body now, please? Or are you going to be an incessant pain? As if this project hasn't been that already. No, it's not going on. Will it go on the other way? Yes. Right, let's get these couplings in before everything drops apart again. That's one. Make sure the wires are still routed underneath it, which they are. This is number 2, going in a little bit of a cack angle, but I'll just hold that in. Can you tell that my patience for this project is running at absolute 0? Because I can. And then this last screw goes in there like that, which I'm not even sure how much that actually grips it, but it was there when I got it, so I might as well leave it like that. And there we go, that's the long, drawn out, slightly irritating project wagon restoration complete. And yeah, even though we've not managed to sort the connectors out with that wagon, this does look like a really nice loco. Right, one moment please, and we'll get it onto the station section just to check how it does over those points. And that is a particularly dirty set of points at the top that does need cleaning as well, so we'll see if the new wagon pickups do as well as the old ones. So everyone, here we are down and onto the track, the moment of truth. Let's see what happens. Oh, the signals aren't on. Let me turn them on. That looks a little bit weird without them on. So set the controller to forwards. Oh, it was already set. There we go. Give it a little bit of power and we'll see what happens. Hey, there we go. Wow, that wasn't the most controlled start ever, but lovely and smooth, and over those points, that was a bit better start. It does not seem to be cutting out, slowing down, jerking about at all. That is brilliant. Yeah, that's a lovely controlled start. Yeah, if this wagon was not on there, from experience, which I'm not going to desolder the wagon and undo all the work I've just done to show you, but without an extra set of pickups, this would just judder all over the place. And the track, as I think I mentioned earlier in the video, all over the layout is very dirty as well. So the fact that this engine is actually running absolutely, dare I say, perfectly over this section is, you know, I'm very, very pleased with the results. So, yeah, we are working fine. That is project complete, and I think the motor's stalled. That's the only problem. There we go. Problem with this type of motor in here, that wasn't the pickups, it was just that the motor stalled, because running it a bit too slow. If I gave it a bit more juice, it'd kick off like there, but yeah, as you can see, I think we can safely conclude that this project, ignore the A4 on the platform, is a success despite the problem with the connectors, but, and I'll stop moving the camera backwards and forwards now, so if you all get motion sickness, I think we can say safely that this is project success, and the 101 is back with a set of pickups, which if I shut up talking, you can't hear them squeaking like it did before, and the wagon is rolling, the wheels are turning nicely, they're not just dragging along the track, and it seems to be making a really good connection with the rails. So thank you very much indeed for watching, everyone. It's been fun to do this project along with you. Hopefully it's been interesting to watch, and hopefully it'll give you some tips to maybe if you want to do this for one of your engines, little 040 in the future. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and the next video will be servicing of a Triang 08 shunter which I got in a recent visit to a model shop in Scarborough. Coming very shortly is that one, so keep your eyes peeled. Do take care and enjoy the rest of your evening, folks. Good night.